Welcome back to the social web TV. And my head is going to explode. There's so much going on. And we don't even have Joseph to help us with it. He's missing.
He's in Australia?
He said, yeah, I had to go to some conference. I don't know what it was. Anyway, today we've got at least 6 different items in the news. And I think if we work hard, we can maybe find some logical way to thread them together into a coherent story of feeds and OpenID.
We have a bunch of arrows in front of us on like a sheet of paper.
Maybe
we'll follow.
Maybe we'll show that picture of that.
We should have used colors to like help us. Yeah.
Lord. So let's jump in with in the news. Yahoo, we've talked about before with their YOS strategy, reinventing the internet's top portal into a new kind of social utility of some sort or another, following the model of openness and web-wide aggregation of feeds. Really kind of a natural play because they've got so many Web 2.0 properties that they've acquired, but never really gotten the benefit of synergy out of things like Flickr and Delicious. So logically, having those feed into some aggregator makes a ton of sense. But in the news today, they've just added 20 feeds from external sites, things like Goodreads and I think Picasa, among others. So following a model that kind of pioneered by Plaxo in 2007, and FriendFeed kind of popularized it with Digerati. But now we're seeing it roll out on a mainstream portal.
Yeah, well, and really Yahoo taking it from just going and collecting activity from all the services that they own. I mean, I think a lot of people have given Yahoo a hard time for going and buying all these services and not integrating them together. And so this is probably one of those steps of showing how they can integrate the services together. They've already done that from an account basis. I mean, if you remember the whole Flickr flare-up a few years ago where you now use your same Yahoo account to log in everywhere, and now with this aggregation bit as part of YOS, what you'll see is your activity from different Yahoo properties and then now today from other sites around the web all in one place.
And it's cool too because it's also part of this evolution from a world where to do something with a company like Yahoo in the past would have meant business development deal, contracts, lawyers, negotiation. In a world of openness and activity streams, Yahoo can add 20 feeds today and 20 feeds tomorrow, and anyone else can do the same thing because it's the user's data just flowing via things like RSS.
Well, and that really then hits on the activity stream project, which we talked about a little bit, where it's taking it to yet another step of right now, Yahoo and all these other companies don't need to do business deals with each other because Yahoo can go and write a little bit of code to understand feeds that come out of Goodreads or feeds that come out of Picasa compared to Flickr. But the activity streams project is then trying to take that another step. So Yahoo doesn't have to go and write custom code as well as that they don't have to do business deals.
Cool. In the same vein, one other thing we want to talk about with feeds is in Plaxo, which we talked about a second ago. Joseph's not here, but I know he wrote some code recently that I personally think is pretty cool, and hopefully by the time the show is up, I'll have a blog post to get a little more detail. But specifically, this is if you want to share a review in Plaxo and have that go out to your friends or family or business network. Historically, we've allowed you to do that by just typing in some stuff, freeform. And we still do that, but what's interesting is by lightweight integration with Amazon through a RESTful API that they've had for quite a while, I think, Joseph was able to make it so that as you type in the name of something, it's doing a search to find relevant images of products available through Amazon. So it makes it really easy for me to review an album of a band that I wanted to share with friends or family, whatever. So
well, and really continues to reinforce that point about Yahoo and feeds of Plaxo didn't have to go and do a business deal with Amazon to get access to this information, just as a few years ago with Vox when we made it so if you wanted to blog about a book or music or something, you could go search Amazon's catalog, not having to do business deals there. And that's where like this whole evolution of being able to use that same set of open standards means that these services can work together without having to have contracts in place all of the time. And then ideally being able to have more and more sort of technology plumbing help so that you won't even need to go and write custom code to do all of this, but you'll just be able to say, well, I'm importing a photos feed and I know what photos look like, so you can display that.
And if it's not entirely clear, there's still good business going on behind this. It's good for users, which obviously then means it's good for Plaxo. But it's also the case that it promotes Yahoo or Amazon listed products, and if you want to buy them, you can click through, and all of a sudden, it's essentially this virtuous cycle where social discovery is powering. It's the engine for driving traffic to your site.
Well, and something very clear for Amazon, where you go to Amazon and you can buy a physical item. And this is probably one of the areas where it seems a little less clear, where you have something like a YouTube video or a Flickr photo, and you see this now in friend feed, you hit play, and you're not going over to YouTube.
Right.
And so this is then causing Google to experiment with how to integrate ads directly into videos, because even though...
Take it to where the eyeballs are.
Exactly. Yeah, instead of trying to get all the eyeballs back to your site.
Cool. Now this is a hard transition. We want to get from where we are to talking about a couple of Web 2.0 properties that got acquired by a large company, not Yahoo, Google. And I think in general, we're almost always covering positive news stories here. But this one might bring a little tear. Over at Google this week announced that they're refining their strategy a little bit, I think in the lean economic times, and two Web 2.0 properties are going to feel a little pinch.
Yeah, two Jaiku. And Dodgeball.
And Dodgeball. Actually, I guess in the case of Jaiku, they're not killing the service, but I think stopping further development on it.
Well, so my understanding with Jaiku was that they've been working to port Jaiku over to run on Google App Engine.
Oh, okay.
And so they're going to then go and open source that code base once they're done, is my understanding.
Oh, cool.
So I don't think the Jaiku service will live on, just as Dodgeball the service won't live on, but Jaiku's code base. And I mean, it'll really be a good example of how to write a great larger app on top of Google App Engine, because you have the Google team doing it, you have an application that's designed to be used by a lot of people, all released as open source.
Nice. Now, for bullet number 4, moving on to another kind of Web 2.0 service for sharing, it's iLike. iLike is in the news today, and they're a music discovery and sharing service, doing something interesting with Google Friend Connect.
You could say that I like Google Friend Connect.
I like that. Ooh, that was bad. The idea here is, just as Google Friend Connect in general lets the smaller sites of the web, the long tail of the content web, get social on their site just by dropping in a few lines of JavaScript, cut and paste kind of style. And there are a few widgets that are available stock that'll make it really easy to have, for example, commenting on your blog or something like that. The iLike one makes it even more interesting, because then you can start to do things like add a playlist, but not just any playlist, a social playlist, so the readers of your blog can contribute to that. So that's kind of cool.
I think that was when TechCrunch wrote about it this week. They sort of were asking their readers to go and create the TechCrunch Party House playlist, or something like that. Then what's also interesting for Google Friend Connect is that Google Friend Connect integrates with a lot of different social networks and sites for your account login. So you don't have to go and create a new account if you already have a Google account, or I think you can use a Plaxo account.
Soon.
Okay.
But you can certainly use Plaxo for profile,
Right.
and Plaxo as a place to flow the activity streams back to.
Right, and they had Facebook for a while. We were talking about that in one of the first episodes in MySpace and stuff like that. And they're doing a lot of that using OpenID. And so sort of one of the ways to look at this is that through Google Friend Connect, you can go and integrate and turn your site into a site that you can sign in using OpenID just by embedding a little bit of JavaScript.
And it's really OpenStack, so it's OpenID, it's OAuth, it's Open Social, portable contacts on the web.
Yeah, exactly. I think we should link back to the episode where we talked about Google Friend Connect a little while ago. But so that leads into OpenID momentum.
Indeed.
Yeah, these arrows work.
Wow, we've made it all the way to number 5.
Exactly. So yesterday, posted on the OpenID blog a post sort of looking back over 2008 at some of the accomplishments the OpenID community had, because really the past few months, as Facebook Connect came out, a lot of people were sort of saying this is going to kill OpenID, OpenID is going to go away, there's no way OpenID is going to survive. But when we actually look back at what this entire community accomplished last year, it's pretty amazing.
It is, it's we talked about it on the last episode, it's the darkest before the dawn. A lot of people are wondering, but man, that blog post, I didn't know. Actually, you mentioned over 30,000 sites accepting OpenID,
Yeah,
public sites.
Starting with under 10,000 at the beginning of 2008.
And because of the entry of some very big providers this year, like Google and Yahoo, the number of OpenID accounts that are out there is now over 500 million. Now we know that's not 500 million people who know they have an OpenID and are using it on a daily basis, but clearly the big players are putting some serious investment behind this. So.
Well, and then you're also seeing some of the larger companies go and turn some of their properties into sites that accept OpenID sign-in. So sort of like going into 2008, right, I think the last week of December of 2007, Google lit up Blogger with support for OpenID out of beta. Last year you saw Microsoft Health Vault supporting OpenID for sign-in, AOL's MapQuest adding OpenID for sign-in. So you're seeing it, as well as in things like Google Friend Connect, of making OpenID sign-in that much easier for sites, as well as a bunch of technology successes around OpenID specifications, the community sort of looking back and focusing on things like user experience and usability, and going and talking to sort of news agencies about how could OpenID benefit them. As well as then, Facebook Connect, where it's sort of one of those where maybe it's a little ironic, but
yeah.
Facebook Connect might be the best, or like one of the best things that happened to OpenID last year.
It really lit a fire and drew an enormous amount of attention to the concept of logging into a site with third-party credentials.
Exactly. Well, and not only is it getting people, both consumers as well as businesses, to think about what does it mean to sign into a site using my account from somewhere else, but being able to bring profile data, being able to share activities, being able to find people that I know. But it's also making people realize that just as no one wanted Microsoft to control all of single sign-on for the web with Microsoft Passport,
right.
Almost half a decade ago, if not.
I think it might have been 98.
Yeah, exactly. So remembering this pain from 1998 and saying there's no way in hell that Facebook is going to go and control identity for all of the web either.
Well, and at Plaxo, we're very much working on this because we want to be at the beginning a relying party of choice to really be a sandbox to work this stuff out. And one of my predictions for 2009 was that we would make such progress showing this kind of open stack onboarding that it can be better for our business than the traditional create a new account pain, that by the end of the year we may switch over to this entirely and say, don't even create an account in a traditional way. Just tell us where you have your identity provider and let's go. So.
Well, and so we took another step towards that this week with TypePad. And so a few months ago, we launched a new commenting service. And
this we here is six apart. David's
the
company that David works at.
And a service around that called TypePad Connect, which lets you go and embed comments and other things like that into your site.
Right.
And we always had support for basic OpenID sign-in. So you could use your OpenID 1, OpenID 2, but we didn't do any of that sort of like nice UI integration of sign in with a Yahoo account, sign in with a Google account. And we went ahead and launched that this week. So now it's very easy if you have an OpenID from Yahoo or an OpenID from AOL or Google or all of these different places, Blogger and WordPress and LiveJournal and Vox, to go and sign into TypePad Connect and leave comments on blogs and start to create an account and a profile there if you wanted to as well. And that's been something that, sort of surprised us a little in terms of seeing how much people were paying attention to that. We wrote sort of a very simple post describing this additional feature, which in some cases, like to us and to people that think about this a lot, was a very small change. But what it really showed was that going back and looking at how can we make something existing easier and better, and really following on that trend within the OpenID community of how do we improve usability and user experience really does matter.
Well, and one of the folks who took notice of it, Michael Kalor of Wired, really the thing that attracted him to this story is that we're really seeing this idea of third-party sign-in catch a spark in this whole world of blogging. And some of it's great work that you guys are doing. Some of it's that it's such a natural area, because when you read a blog and want to leave a comment, the last thing you want is some big hurdle between you and posting that comment, like registering, filling out a form, remembering a new password. So I think we're going to see some good stuff there. You observed that blogging is not some niche activity, that in some ways it is the fabric of the social web itself. So.
Absolutely.
Cool. Well, it's only the second episode of 2009 and action-packed. I don't know what we're going to do in the middle of the year if we have 20 news stories or 30. We'll probably need a better system than squiggles I've drawn down there. Anyway, I hope that you feel more informed on what's going on the social web. Join us next week for what will undoubtedly be another exciting episode of the Social Web TV!